main session to join us. And I'll just wait for Saurabh to confirm that we can get started, and then we'll kick it off. Yeah?
Excellent.
So Carl's session, I'm told, is over. So we will wait for precisely 30 seconds, and hopefully people will start flowing through, and we will get started. So there's a bunch of people who already joined in. I see Mona, I see Milan, so some familiar names, guys. But a couple of minutes and we get started. Definitely a couple of minutes, much lesser than that. See a bunch. This is great.
Well, it's good to see. We've got Mona in the audience. It's a familiar name for me.
Okay, so let's get started. We have two experienced practitioners with us. We have John Boyle from Lumen and Ed Watson from Openreach. And the intent is to really learn from the experience. So without further ado, let me throw it over. John, Ed, may I request you guys to introduce yourself and talk very briefly around what you do at your organizations and why is automation very central to your lives and the impact that you're delivering. Do you want to kick it off, John?
Sure, of course. My name is John Boyle. I'm a senior manager at Lumen Technologies, formerly CenturyLink, formerly Level 3 Communications. I run the AdvantEdge community, our Center of Excellence, and along with the AdvantEdge community of practice that we launched about 3 years ago in partnership with EdgeVerve. Coming out of operations myself, I've always bridged a gap between IT and operations. Even when I go into IT, I end up back in operations and end up being this middle ground. And sitting in here with automation, it allows for real focus on operational efficiency. So that's where my knowledge and experience in the industry has added an advantage to our Center of Excellence as we focus on what I call cost optimization or OpEx optimization and enablement to be able to do more with less.
Super. Ed, you want to go next?
Yeah. So Ed, I work for Openreach and specifically I work in the service delivery part of Openreach. But we provide telephone broadband infrastructure to all of the UK. And similar to John, I kind of bridge that gap between operations and IT. I sit within the operations unit service delivery, which has about 20,000 engineers out there fixing customer lines, providing them with new service. And I run the RPA Center of Excellence within service delivery, which enables people from the operational teams, be them frontline engineers, desk agents, managers of desk agents, whoever they are, if they've got a good automation idea with a business case where RPA is a good technical option for it, then I'll give them a team of developers and they can go ahead and do it. So that's one of the things that I do within service delivery. The other element, you'll see that my job title is process reengineering, is that I also run a program looking at our end-to-end processes, doing all the type of Lean Six Sigma stuff that you'd expect. Sometimes we use the RPA Center of Excellence to automate our processes. A lot of the time we use some of the other Lean levers instead.
Excellent. And we couldn't have got better practitioners because I guess one of the key tenets that we speak to our customers is that we're not really trying to do technology. Our intent is to really to drive business outcomes using technology in a very purposeful manner. And I guess both of you really exemplify that, not just in the work that you do, but in the place where you sit within the organization. So it's really good to kind of have both of you on the panel. So from a structure of this conversation, broadly, I reached out to my practitioners, my sales guys, etc. And I have a few questions that I'm going to shoot off in the beginning. We're going to kind of keep it very informal and conversational, probably for the first 15 odd minutes. And in the last 5 minutes, I'm going to try to squeeze in a couple of audience questions. And hopefully that will kind of deliver the best value for the audience that we have right now. And it seems like the numbers are kind of picking up pretty rapidly. So that's great. So the first question that I had for you, and let me kick this thing off with you, Ed. If I were to ask you what were the key learnings that you have had as you have gone down this journey of automation, any war stories that you can share with the audience, things that they should not do, or what they should do the first, right up front, etc. Anything that you can share, Ed?
Yeah, I think one of the key things that I would have done differently when we first started doing RPA about 3 years ago was taken a more end-to-end process, root cause fix type of view. When we first started, we were really focused on the classic low-hanging fruit, finding those procedures which looked transactional, automatable, cracked on with automating those, and that gave us a couple of $100K here and there in cost savings, and it solved some proximal process problems that we had, but they didn't necessarily solve business problems or drive some of our key business metrics that we were looking at. So we kind of got some of that cost out. That was good. We automated a procedure. That was good. We didn't necessarily make the business a significantly better place as a result of that automation. So that's definitely one of the key things I would have done. So rather than just working with the procedural SMEs and the frontline operational teams, making sure we also had a view of the end-to-end process, getting those end-to-end process SMEs in as well. So we knew where our automation fits within the whole end-to-end process and make sure that it drives bigger business value.
So I guess the key learning is that rather than look at tactical wins where you can apply automation for local optima, you want to kind of see the end-to-end impact and make your investments not for automating a particular task, but to see how it makes a difference from the overall process perspective. Would that be right?
Yeah. And at the very least, making a deliberate decision about
absolutely
solving a local problem rather than it being out of ignorance of the end-to-end process. So,
John, any thoughts, any other learnings that you have seen?
I agree a lot with what Ed just said. We do, but I think in a roundabout way, it's almost a necessity to hit the tactical, to prove that what you can do to get the strategic efforts and the major initiatives going. From a learning standpoint, setting up organizations and structures for the team and the center of excellence, I think the structure becomes very key. I've done this a couple times with different companies, but I think having the correct structure, being able to be agile with the business are key learnings I had, and finding a way to draw the business in. Stakeholder or business process owner involvement is directly related to the success of what we as Center of Excellence develop or move out. So I think putting in the right structure where you have internal advocates for the business, not necessarily the SMEs, but individuals that will constantly work with the SMEs, not tying up development resources or anything of that nature, but really engaging and being those ones to go out and search and find the process and look at it from a high level to say, where can we provide immediate benefit, build the building block to eventually expand it to be that strategic effort. So I think that's one thing I've learned is if we don't have that stakeholder involvement, we don't get the benefits that we're looking for.
Yeah, I could not agree more. hardest RPA projects I've run, where your operational leader, your operational team aren't that interested in it, or don't want it, and that's when they tend to fail or deliver very small benefit compared to what you thought they could.
And Ed, is the lack of stakeholder buy-in, is that a structural issue, or is that kind of poor selection of projects? As in, any thoughts around why that lack of stakeholder buy-in?
Ooh, good question.
I could jump in here and add.
Go for it, John.
To me, it is, the business is always so busy. They're always understaffed. They're always going after, and there's always new stuff coming in, where you end up having legacy work or things that are taking time away from individuals, that now you're asking for more participation into something else. So I think that's where it becomes a challenge. If you don't have individuals helping them coordinate time, making the time that we do spend with them valuable, that's where you end up breaking down. Because if we didn't have that advocacy within the team itself, you end up chasing after the leaders, the frontline managers, the SMEs going, hey, we need an answer, and having a hard time getting a hold of that.
Yeah, that's spot on.
That makes sense.
And I just reflecting on John there and having a bit of time to think as well, is that it's the leaders who see the automation as critical to delivering their operational strategy or their metrics, whatever that is, that I've seen have the most engagement when they see that, automating that procedure, that's going to really enable me to free up these people who can then go and do that thing that I really need them to go and do. So I really need you to do that and be successful. Whereas the ones where it's been, they're not that interested, it doesn't really critically affect their KPIs and the things that they're interested in, the busyness that they're trying to deal with, then it becomes challenging to engage.
Okay. Another question which I was asked to check with you guys was around the kind of capabilities that you'd be looking for as you progress, because clearly automation is kind of becoming more central to enterprise strategy, and what was considered good 5 years back has become table stakes today. So any thoughts around what are the key capabilities that you're looking? It could be, let's say, ability to handle documents. It could be machine learning. It could be cloud. Any thoughts around what are the key capabilities that you look for when it comes to automation strategy?
I think for me two things that I'm kind of toying with, but don't know their relative importance.
Okay.
Is or how to really implement them is low code automation. Mm-hmm. In that could be a way of getting some interest from the operation to our previous point, but also getting more people thinking about automation and thinking in the way that you need in order to generate ideas and good ideas. But then it brings, like, how do you control it? How do you quality check it? How do you keep it going? That type of stuff. So maybe that, and then also your like automation planning tools. So your task mining, your process mining, those types of things.
Okay, John, any thoughts?
I mean, very much. Could go right along with what Ed says. You can tell we're in the same line of work for sure. But definitely
That's
from when I look at RPA or other platforms to do process automation on it, it's really about resilience. What can last? What we don't want to spend cycles of development for something that larger efforts are going to do away with in 6 months. So visibility within the bridge between that IT space, black ops, gray ops, is key. And can we develop efforts that lay the foundation. Don't become obsolete, but lay the foundation. Low coding opportunities. For in my space right now, we're focusing a lot on microbots. We launched the community of practice, which is our own custom citizen developing training program to get individuals thinking about automation and bringing the business into this world. It's creating a digital army pretty much of automators that are out there to target those small efforts where a center of excellence, it doesn't have the bandwidth, IT doesn't have the bandwidth, and becoming less of a developing center of excellence and more of just a governance and control and aiding the citizen developers. I think that's a shift we're seeing in business now. A COE used to be, here's your developers. Now we're seeing a COE as, here's your governance and controls and the people that are going to help you do the job. And I think that's the transition we're going through.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I think, like you say, that piece of whatever we develop, it can be a building block to a strategic solution is key, because then your tacticals don't become, right, well, we've got to deliver it in 2 months, otherwise we're not going to get the business value out of it. That solves a lot of your business case problems, a lot of your...
I always look at it like Legos. If you can build Legos and put all your blocks together, eventually you get a beautiful picture or a beautiful building, but you have to start out somewhere, and making sure those little Lego pieces that you're developing add to what the end goal is key.
Yeah, I can really see that, because there's always a desire from the business to do something now and do it quickly, and then you go and look at it and think, oh well, there's probably better solutions, so we'll wait for that. But yeah, I agree, John. That'd be really powerful. I can really see that.
I have an audience question. For some reason, it didn't come up on this panel, so they sent it to me via email. So the question is really that as you look to scale automation, you want to kind of create a pipeline of opportunities for qualifying them, prioritizing them, etc. Any thoughts around how you have done it in your organizations? John, do you want to go first in terms of?
I think this is
instead of looking at in ones and twos, how do you kind of have 50 ideas coming up and then kind of getting a sense around which ones you want to take, which ones you don't want to take, etc.
That's sort of where I think I've really learned my lesson in doing this so long, is that I can prioritize things. I can prioritize things based on ROI. I can prioritize things based on volumes and what will be enabled back to the business. But ultimately, that's me in a DevOps situation dictating to the business what needs to be done, instead of the business coming to me and saying, this is what I need. And so I did. Any COE that starts off has about 60, 70 high-level, 50,000-foot view efforts being asked for. And what do we do? How do we get to them? Well, business, I'm one person. I have 3 or 4 VPs coming to me in organizations. You guys tell me where you want my resources to go. And we do a month. The advocate role that I spoke to earlier really helps with this. They meet monthly with all of the director levels and VP levels to say, you have a swim lane. What do you want going in next? What do you want going in? And we have major roadmaps. We roadmap their visions out, but we let them choose. And I think the business needs to make that choice, because there's things that I've done that literally had 0 ROI on it. But you know what? The morale that it gave to the team was so much more than what I could have done by saving it. It was a quick, simple automation as well. So business prioritization should come from the business. So that's where my stance is.
Couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah. So Ed, we're kind of running out of time. So I'm going to ask you to take up another audience question, which has popped up. We are fortunate to have this thing pop up here. The question goes around, how do you manage the talent shortage? Because we always say that people who understand business and automation are hard to come by. Could you And my request is if you could answer it very briefly because we're kind of running out of time. Any thoughts around how you manage the skill shortage, if you will, around how do you innovate, how do you address this?
So I think for us, it's about having multiple different places where you can get talent from. So using third-party suppliers as well as bringing people in through our own structure. Always scouting for those people who have like little kernels of brilliance from the operation. So like a desk agent who just gets it in terms of automation. Bring them in.
Right.
But I think having multiple different streams, using third parties, looking in every corner of your own organization as well to bring people through. That's how we try and find the best people.
Makes sense. Any thoughts, John? Anything you have to add to that?
I think he was going right along the lines. I think we have the talent. A lot of companies have the talent. It's as we live in an exciting, scary time. Technology advances so fast. AI is advancing so fast. We as Center of Excellences owe it to the human capital of a business to bring them along. So getting the individuals out of the business, not necessarily having to go outside the company, and bringing them up to the skill level needed to participate in these transformation efforts and these automation efforts, making them think like a programmer for the first time. I think that's where I go to look for my talent is within the business, ideally, and training them up.
That makes absolute sense, John. And I have been told that we are running over. So this has been extremely valuable, and I'm sure our audience would have benefited a lot from this conversation because it's one thing to speak at a strategic level, but it's extremely useful to understand what actually happens in the trenches. And the insights that both of you have shared are pretty significant and useful. With this, folks, we've come to the end of AdvantEdge 2021. And it's been great having you all join us, both for the main session and for the breakout. Thanks for spending time with us, and hopefully you found value with this. We look forward to connecting with all of you. You can reach us out. You'll all receive an email from our marketing teams. Feel free to reach us out. And likewise, I'm sure John and Ed would also be happy to share their perspectives if you reach out to them. Take care and stay safe. Thanks all.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
See you.